That'll be exciting. Huh?
Farrell's Alabama.
God, I hope it's Sam. So Jessica was telling me a story about her asking you guys to applaud for being here. It was a good story. It made me laugh. But honestly, thank you so much for coming. This is kind of humbling in a way. I mean, of the many things. Like I was on the show floor when the bell rang and hordes of people streaming past as the enforcers all uniformly go, "Thank you for not running," which is like the most passive-aggressive prohibition I've ever heard. It was kind of astonishing. I appreciate you not shanking that guy, sir. At some point, Jess is probably going to come up here, but until then, freestyle. Did she leave? She left. All right. I'm going to do a round of introductions so you guys can get ready for the quiz. So, speaking of quizzes, did you guys check out the Dragon Egg thing? You check this out? You got to check it out. It's like a word search and stuff. Is the rogue test. There's a mage test online, and the warrior test is moved. There, eggs. So it's all basically puzzles, like putting together words, trying to figure out key phrases, like kind of stuff. You can win something. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's going to be pretty cool. That I know. I don't know where Jess is, so I'm going to do this part. This is Jason Barlow. He's a development director with us here at BioWare, or development manager. Manager, okay, anyway. So basically, Jason does scheduling. But he does scheduling for the combat team, which is actually pretty radical. VFX, all the combat stuff, the animators, like easily one of the most diverse teams we have on Dragon Age, because it takes like 18 different disciplines to make combat happen. To my right, we have Dean Roskell, who's one of our senior level designers. So Dean implements the content into the levels and is one of the wizards working on the bigger exploration spaces for Inquisition. And his partner in crime, I would say, is Andrew Farrell, also known as the Violator, because he occasionally uses props more than perhaps memory would allow. So he's violated protocol. Andrew has been with us for a long time. You worked all the way back to Origins, didn't you?
Yeah, right from the concept of it, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, Andrew's hardcore DA. You can ask him all kinds of delicious questions about Origins. Why was it so brown, Andrew?
Yes. It's next gen.
Well, because... no, not anymore.
Not anymore. No, it's changed now.
Yeah. Oh, there's Jess. Maybe. I'll keep going. So today we're actually going to talk about something. So it's kind of neat because Jess is like, what do you want to do with this panel? And I'd actually like to, we're going to talk about Explore because these guys got some really cool stories to tell. But I want to talk a little bit about story and how it's going to interact with Explore too, because that's something we haven't really talked about a ton. So hopefully that'll be intriguing and a little bit of new info. Might even get into some of the characters because we just revealed a bunch. We'll see. And then open QA. Yes?
Are we just telling what we're doing?
Yeah, I'm basically, it's the agenda slide in my PowerPoint.
Who loves PowerPoint? All right, so we're gonna show a trailer. I don't know if that's already been talked about.
I don't think I bullet pointed that one.
Okay, all right. So let's watch a trailer. Discover the Dragon Age. I talk really loud, so I might have to go all the way back here.
Our search will take us to every corner of this land. The beautiful, the dangerous, the ancient places where no one walks alone. This is the world we're trying to save.
That's Jessica Merizan.
I'm the community manager. Am I allowed to tell a trade secret?
Yep.
So the noise, the dragon noise, I hope that wasn't a secret. That was a dragon noise.
If it was, we did a really bad job at keeping it.
There was a cool dragon noise that the sound guy sent around recently, and it wasn't actually that. Do you remember that email?
Was that the belly rub?
Yeah, it wasn't actually a belly rub, but they were like, "This is what a dragon belly rub sounds like."
It was all.
It was really cute. If you think that that's, I like to think it was belly rub. The Inquisitor gets cuddly. Posted on Tumblr. So you know, I think that was pretty cool, guys. Good job.
Yeah,
good
thanks.
work.
Yeah.
Those two. Right there.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
I'm really excited actually about the idea of seeing a lot more of Thetis, a lot more exploration, a lot of landscapes. So let's talk about that, especially because you know when we're talking about Inquisition, when we're talking about Dragon Age and the world, it allows us to talk about things without spoiling a lot of things. So let's talk about what we're seeing, about where we're going, about what we're exploring.
Well, I think we're getting a broader spectrum of the world, basically, of Thetis. We're seeing a lot more of the different cultures, going to a lot more places in this game, stretching from Farrell all the way across Orlais and the deeper regions of Orlais. Yeah, it gives us a larger palette to work with. Yeah.
It's more of more as well, because the locations that we go into are larger spaces, means we can fit more content in those spaces and tell more of a story with the breadth of the space, go wider with the content.
Are there any, do you guys have any particular favorites you can talk about, or anything we saw up there with good war stories?
I think the stuff you're seeing up there, like the fens, part of the Dalish plains, came together quite nicely. We really, one thing when we put in these large spaces, we want to keep the content quite fresh for the player. You know, you're running around these things for hours, and you really want to get rewarded for going even further off the beaten path. So we really want to sort of mix it up. So a lot of those spaces, you've got a lot of war-torn land, and then you come across this kind of small little tunnel area, and it kind of branches out into this larger kind of ancient elven area that no one's really touched for a very long time. So you get to sort of find those areas on your own. There's no major quest to find them. It's all just the player just getting off the pathway and finding these things and really rewarding the player for that.
I think that place in particular was a big surprise because it came together so quickly, but it looked spectacular from the start. So we got to see the reaction of the rest of the studio seeing that for the first time. Like a lot of the stuff they see builds up over months, years. So everyone gets to see it as it gets iterated on. But this was straight out. It came out and it looked like it did in the video.
Well, we're getting a lot faster in making these areas. So every week there's something new now coming online, which is really exciting.
I got lost once.
That's good.
That's the point.
I know.
Was it a good lost or a bad lost?
I got lost, and I was like, oh man, I totally went the wrong. I got lost.
Yeah.
I got lost.
That's one thing we really. Somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh, I got lost in this level, but it was great."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really
So, oh, okay, cool.
I discovered things.
Yeah.
There is a map, so if you're really lost, go back.
Yeah.
Dean, is there any particular process you guys can talk about in terms of how you populate the levels?
Yeah, we go through a few stages when we're building these spaces. Obviously, the large spaces, we build them, typically they have a purpose. There's a reason why the Inquisitions go in there. So we first and foremost establish the reason, the storyline, we build up the characters and the plots for that. But then we have this big space. It's much bigger than what we need to tell that single storyline with. So we go through a layer of iteration where we place that content in there, and then we do the same process. We play the level, we get lost ourselves, and then we say, okay, we got lost in this place, this is cool, what can we place here, what opportunities can this bring? And we attack that from another angle. It's like Andrew, being the art side, he will place down an elven ruin, or he will see like, oh, the player needs to be rewarded for getting to this place, so what can we do in a visual sense? And then I'll go down there and I say, okay, the players found this elven room, what's the story of this elven room? I'll sit with the writers and we'll figure something out. We'll try and tell a story a number of different ways. It might just be a note that you find on the floor, it might just be a visual item that's in there, it might be some loop that's got a history to it, or it could be a character or something you can speak to. There are a number of different tools. So yeah, we go through these levels in a number of different like sort of visions and mindsets to try and fulfill, because players are going to play these levels in different ways. They have different purposes and different quests that they're on. Some of them are self-driven goals. Some of them are part of the bigger campaigns.
If you could tell everyone in the audience some things that you want them to remember, and then in the next few months about those levels and the stories going into them, outside of the main the writing of it when they're walking through these levels and the stories of it, the things like the loop. What would you say you want them to keep in mind when they're walking through these levels?
I think this is the kind of random nature of some of the systems that we placed in the levels. That these things that happen to just one player in particular that no one else has seen. Sort of events might happen between different factions that come together.
Yeah, I think that's a good angle to go on. Is be prepared to share your stories with the other players, because you might have experienced something that someone else hasn't experienced. Some of the stuff that you see, certainly there, it's in a scripted sense, like we want you to find it. But there's other opportunities in the level that we see surprise us. We build these systems to not know what they're going to do. So you can come across two groups fighting in a field, and that might just happen to you. It might happen to nobody else. And that's the cool thing. That's the stories that we share as we're making this stuff up. We see like a certain creature might attack a camp, and I'll go around and tell somebody, "Oh, did you see this? It's attacked a camp." It's like, I've never seen that before. That's awesome. So things like that, I definitely think so. Sharing your stories is I think a key thing.
But my favorite part about it is not just a camp, your camp that you can and set up, and the Inquisition soldiers come in and are there patrolling. So the world has changed due to you coming and basically placing your standard. And we've seen a few people actually kind of pull things back so that the guys come in and basically lend the assist. Right? You can only do that so far, but when you see people like kind of saying, "Oh, I've expanded my reach and I have some allies here, so I'm going to actually take advantage of that," it can lead to a really neat experience. And that's something that these guys in particular have been just kick ass at, is getting some degree of evolution in the level. So as you play, one of our big goals is that you get to the end, well, not the end, but like you kind of feel like, okay, cool, I've been here, I've done some of the major stuff, and something major has changed, right? Wow, that band of refugees now controls this fortress, right? And that's because I was here. And there's a store, and there's now I can rest there and all that kind of stuff, which has kind of been our goal, is how can this world evolve and change, kind of like taking a four-dimensional approach to the design.
That's one of the first sort of things we do when we're kind of concepting these spaces, is how the player can make their mark, how the Inquisition can influence the space is basically our first sort of step into the concepting the area. And then we do the broad strokes that allows Dean to do the kind of smaller story details that kind of build off that.
Yeah, that's definitely a part of most levels we go into. We want you to know, like, you could take a screenshot of that level at the start, and then you can play that for X amount of hours, and then take a screenshot at the end, and you should see some differences. Not everywhere, but as many places we possibly can. We want to know that you've not just finished that place by completing all the quests and ticking all the boxes, you've left a lasting mark in that space. Every time you go and revisit in the future, that place will be different.
We should probably, I think the thing that everyone's dying to hear is, how do we coordinate that effort?
Yeah.
Well, it's the most illustrious part of the job, no doubt.
I want to know about workflows.
Oh, well, great. Well, actually, the combat team has got 4 different disciplines working on it right now. And really what we focus on is trying to deliver the components to the guys that are putting into the level in a way that is going to give them the breadth of creatures and abilities and say exploration animations that's going to really support their efforts. So obviously the combat teams kind of breaks themselves into different disciplines. So we've got an abilities team, creatures team, and kind of a VFX team that focuses in a couple different directions. So in the case of exploration, we're going to provide them with cool environmental VFX to support some of the hazards and zones that are going to make the areas really interesting, and give them a nice breadth of that so that they can place them in different areas in the game and get that a little more of a little more spice there for you. And again, the creature palette's pretty wide, so you can have a number of creatures that are going to fit each area, the ecosystem in each area as well. So you're not gonna see a lot of the same creatures again, which is great. And then again, finally, abilities. So you have cool things to do in the area and different ways to interact with the things you find there. So I could talk about spreadsheets. I could bring up Handsoft, just great project management software, guys. It's riveting stuff. But maybe I'll spare you that. Ultimately, though, it's the team working together as a unit every day and you know, communicating properly and ensuring that we're delivering on the things we say we're going to deliver in the time frame we need to, because the last thing we want these guys to do is have to wait for the assets we're building for them. So it's really a team effort on that front.
It's definitely delivering the things that you don't ask for, you don't plan for.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, part of the issue is when we're building these new spaces, we have this tool set, and it's been an ever-growing tool set of abilities, items, creatures, but then it comes to a point where you just think, I just want something new here, something a bit different, like I'd take that ability and that creature and this thing and put them together, and then that's where we have to go to Jason and say, have you got some time for this?
Always, always, until we don't.
It seems like it's a really balanced ecosystem with how it all works together. You know, I mean, I know that when on the consumer side, everyone talks about, you know, balance in terms of every single side in level design and combat and story, and even on the in the office in terms of work and workflow and working together. It seems like the ecosystem of how all the teams work together, that the balance is really key in supporting each other.
Definitely. We get together with the other disciplines or you know, the right people working in an area on a regular basis. And I know that you guys do reviews and gate reviews to ensure that you're hitting the beats for the area on a regular basis and make sure it's on the right trajectory. And again, you can't build content like we're building in a siloed fashion, so everyone hangs onto their piece and then throws it over the fence at the end. That doesn't work. So that communication and building that ecosystem, I call the combat team a Katamari ball sometimes. We just kind of assemble the animation and VFX guys and kind of get rolled in the right direction and make sure we're going where we need to. So it's very, very similar to other teams. Gotta just open communication. Doors are open and the offices are pretty warm, so that facilitates that pretty well. Warm in the sense that everyone's happy, not we don't turn up the heat to get people out of their offices. Although that's a good idea.
You will take a weekend. Yeah. So it's been, and really, you know, to the whole team, you know, folks back there working right now, these guys, it's been incredibly challenging, and everyone is aware of that. The issues we're facing is that it's not new for us, but it's certainly remembering some old habits, right? It's muscles you haven't used in a while. Because when you think the original Baldur's Gate, right? What happened when you went off the right side of the screen? You showed up on the left side of the next screen, right? Like that, like reality when or Pac-Man, I guess, reality. So you know, you went over and you'd be like, "Hey, man, awesome, an ogre, and I can kill Khalid with that." So then your hero stay in my party even if I dump him. Yes. I had a very mercenary BG playthrough, but for us, it's like we've done a lot of stuff on story, and certainly we're not losing that focus. But coming back and actually So in the course of being a leader, one thing we decided to do was give you a cast of characters that were in and of themselves leaders, or at least very prominent, very important. So Cassandra, one of the most important seekers in the world, you know, speaking terms of the Empress of Orlais, speaking terms of the Divine. You have, you know, Vivienne, who was the first enchanter of the circles before they all fell apart in Orlais, the big one, right? That's if you're gonna be in charge of one, that's the one because it's got better lighting. Fancier dresses, you name it. So that's kind of the thing we've been building towards with the characters. And I'll shut up in a second, but here's the other big thing is that we haven't really talked about the story thus far too much in terms of like the arc that you go on. Partly because we do want to avoid spoilering and naming them, but also because in a way, it's one of those things I truly do want you guys to discover it and kind of have it unfold in front of you and be more surprising. We'll go into a little more detail soon about what it means to be Inquisitor and so on. But in the course of the game itself, there is kind of an ebb and flow where you're going out and kind of expanding the Inquisition's power, kind of investigating stuff that's going on. Groups of bad guys start to form, and you end up, you know, kind of dismantling the stuff they're doing. And in doing that, you basically unlock the next stage of the story. So it's kind of go adventure, now go get deep into that character building stuff. And I'm pretty excited to start rolling that out for you. We just, you know, haven't quite yet.
One of the themes of this weekend that we'll be exploring is the idea that storytelling is not just a writer's discipline. I think that the idea of the Inquisitor and even the idea of the Inquisition and kind of that whole faction and being Inquisitor Scout, that there's a lot of characterization to that. So I'm interested in the three of you of the characterization of the followers as well as the Inquisitor, how that has affected your work and what you guys have been putting into the things that you're doing.
I think the big thing for me when I'm doing these, making these levels, is trying to find opportunities for the Inquisition to, in your character, be the vanguard of pushing through and staking claims in areas. So, for example, for the plains area where everything's just destroyed and all these castles are sort of being abandoned and there's, you know, refugees are huddling out, and then there's your chance to go in there and really take charge when no one else can. Basically, it's you coming in there when no one else can do anything about it.
Yeah, for sure. The visual point of view is if the Inquisition is going to take somewhere, it's got to be somewhere cool. So we try and build spaces that when you see it, you're like, I want to own that thing. And then we give the opportunity to do so.
I want that.
I want to go there.
Yeah.
And then part of the joy is finding your way there, and the rest of the joy is clearing it out.
Yeah.
But for sure with the followers, actually working with the writers on we want to exploit these places in the best possible ways. Like, we want to get the right loot in the right places. If you're going to a Dalish area, then we want to get something in there that's obviously themed for that area. And with the writers and the followers, we want their personality to come out when you go to these spaces. What history have they got to tell? Like, have they been here before? Because they've got their own personality, right? So that they've been here before. What story can they tell you about them? What opinions have they got on this place? Do they want to be there? And that's been great, especially as we've progressed. As we're coming towards the end, we're getting a lot of VO recorded now in the game, and hearing the voices just...
It's really exciting.
Yeah, you play this level that you've worked on, and the VO's gone in through somewhere on the server, and you're suddenly playing, and suddenly there's a voice. You know, previously it was a robot voice, and now it's a real voice, and you're like, wow, this is so different. It's awesome to feel.
It's really exciting, the banter going on when you're playing a level. You've been running through this thing for like hours, making it, and then all of a sudden there's some character banter in there, and it's just like, wow, this is just sort of come to life. Yeah, we're trying to attack the banter from different angles. So one is, there's banter specific for every place you go to, so they have something to say, and that's part of discovering itself. Like taking what character am I going to take me today? Because who's going to have an opinion about the space that I'm going to, and that's been really fun.
Yeah, they're defined enough that you're like, okay, this is where the mages would shine. So that if you've got a mage in your party, which typically you do, because fireball. Then we actually clustered a lot more like, oh, this is dwarven stuff. Well, if Eric's here, otherwise there's stuff you can miss entirely because it only happens at one time. And you didn't have a dwarf to chime in, so that's worked out very well.
Well, yes. So with each party member, we actually also offer a variety of abilities.
Groups, shush Tom. I'm talking now. Sometimes we get feedback that people enjoy having romantic elements in the game. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts?
Yes.
And I kind of went to the VR guys. I'm like, all right, I want to bust something out because we're doing a DA panel first thing, so you guys deserve a little candy, And so we haven't announced this anywhere else, so you guys get to get your Twitters out and so on. But there will be romance in Dragon Age Inquisition. Boom. No. So okay. So I'm going to give you some names. I'm going to give you 2 names in a minute. But first, let's talk about why it's there. Because actually, this one is an interesting subject, and some people actually kind of get all oogie about it, and they don't want to talk about it. But we've got general philosophy at Bioware. In general, we're inclusive. We do every damn thing we can to kind of support, all players. Come play your game, enjoy it. Part of that is keeping romance optional, keeping it like part of the game, but not something that's like jammed in your face or forced down your throat. Every once in a while, someone makes you a post, you're like, I am forcing this. Why do you keep using that imagery? Stop that. So here's the thing. What we tend to do is we kind of philosophy that romantic interaction is part of that kind of grand heroic storytelling, right? Whether it's the guy gets the girl or the girl gets the girl or the boy gets a boy, I don't really care. It's the kind of thing where we're always striving for connection, right? And the connection between your characters can sometimes be, affection. Sometimes it's humor, the good buddy Varric kind of moments, right? And sometimes it's antipathy, right? You hate this guy, right? Our strongest characters, I've always said, are the ones that divide, right? So, there's Fenris in the audience, right? There's people who absolutely love Fenris, right? And there are others who dislike Fenris because he's moody and wastes all that wine, man. Fair point. So, as a general approach, we try to make it part of the game. And so, with Inquisition, we sat down and said, we looked at who the different characters were, and we never do it really based on,